Earn profit from wars presented by Study in Italy. March 2003, Iraq is invaded. And a war starts that lasts for next 8 years, in which more than 85,000 people were killed. The 11th of September 2001, after attack on World Trade Center, USA starts airstrikes on Afghanistan. And this war lasted for next 20 years. 2001, Russia-Ukraine war in which more than 2 lakh people have lost their lives, and the battle is still on. But interestingly, you know what's common in all these wars? America. A country that makes billions of rupees from all wars. To such an extent that you cannot even imagine. On my orders, U.S. military has began strikes against Al-Qaeda training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime, day after announcing a comprehensive new strategy for Afghanistan, a body-ordered deployment of 17,000 troops. At the same time, we will shift the emphasis of our mission to training and increasing the size of Afghan security forces. Have you ever thought, why do these wars happen? So many problems, mass killings, why? Well, in majority of the cases, wars happen because of one out of those 3 reasons. Number 1, resources. 1931, Japan attacks on Manchuria and occupy their territories. Why? Because they wanted to exploit resources, like oil, copper, steel and iron. Now comes the second reason, and that is geopolitical dominance. Hitler created his own Nazi army with German people. And through that army, he dominated many areas. Austria, Czech Republic, areas of France, Belgium, Poland and Italy. Hitler conquered all these areas through his Nazi army. Why? Due to this, Hitler gained geopolitical dominance. And then comes the last reason, that is political influence in nation. Mussolini War, East Africa's leader starts a war. Why? Because he wanted popularity in his people. And if win wars, we would get votes in the elections. I know what you are thinking. If so much destruction happens in these wars, if there is so much bloodshed in war, so, just for resources, geopolitical dominance and influence, what's the need to do all these things? Is there any non-violent way to achieve all this? Well, there is definitely a way. But it is never followed. And to understand its reason, at the very first place, you have to understand the basics of war model. So first of all, keep this straight, that war is a business. And the motive of every business is to create value for its stakeholders. But stakeholders in war? Funny, right? Well, this is the harsh reality. Like, in any business, employees, customers, shareholders, private investors, all these people are stakeholders. In the same way, there are various stakeholders in a war. So, now pay very close attention. If we talk about wars, there are 3 types of stakeholders in a war. Number 1, fighting opponents. As it is very clear by words, these are those countries or entities which are directly involved against each other. In super simple words, 2 people who are fighting for resources, geopolitical dominance or civil and international popularity. Then comes the second stakeholders. Those are supporting allies. Basically, those who are not directly involved in war, but indirectly they are supporting it by providing financial and military assistance, logistical infrastructure, geographical advantages, and medical facilities. Or maybe all of it. Then come those people because of whom the actual duration of the war is decided. The third stakeholders, pushers. People who supply things that keep countries at war against each other. Let me simplify it for you. From September 1980 to August 1988, Iran-Iraq war happens. In this war, Iran and Iraq are 2 fighting opponents. Now it is very obvious that war is a very expensive game, due to which, both countries need to have supporting allies. So, in this case, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait and USA supported Iraq, to not just to continue this war, but also to win this war. While on the other hand, Iran was getting military weapons from Israel to help them counter attacks from Iraq. So in this altogether, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, USA and Israel, all these became supporting allies. But what about the pushers? Who were the pushers in the war? Let me tell you a mind-blowing fact. In any war, pushers are those parties, which supplies such things to fighting parties directly or indirectly, without which those parties can't continue the war. The pusher in Iran was none other than America. And it was planned strategically so well, that common people like you and me, never come to know about it. So, please pay attention. In world's eyes, this is how the scenario between Iran-Iraq looks like. USA supported Iraq by providing money and weapons. While on the other hand, Israel supported Iran by providing money and weapons. But you know that the catch is? USA and Israel government had such an agreement, under which Israel can't sell weapons to Iran. But why's that? Because at that time, Israel would use weapons supplied by US. Means, Israel was not making its weapons, but they were importing it from USA. But think logically. Iran didn't have any weapons. So if they aren't supplied weapons, then how would USA make profit by selling weapons to Iraq and stretching the war duration? So, this is how they did it. USA made an informal alliance with Israel. After which Israel started a front company in USA, which will butt out military weapons from USA. And the fun part is USA knew it. And after some time, when people got skeptical about it, this front company shut down its office in USA, and opened it in London in 1983. So, it is very simple. In whole world's eye, USA was supporting Iraq, by providing money and weapons. But parallel, it was also supplying to Iran through Israel. Because it knew for a fact, if Iran won't have any weapons, then how would USA make profit by selling weapons to Iraq and stretching the war duration? So in this case, Israel and USA became the pushers of this war. Israel made money and US made more money, by providing weapons to Iraq and Iran both. But guess what? This is just the tip of the iceberg. And I'll show you why. During this war, Raytheon Tech and Lockheed Martin, both USA companies, supplied aircrafts and tanks to both countries Iran and Iraq. After this, Chevron and ExxonMobil supplied oil and gas to both countries. And last and most importantly, U.S. Agency for International Development, supplied food, water and medical aid to both countries. But the thing is, these companies made money during the war. But what happened after the war? Well, war happened and then destruction happened. Now the most important thing is reconstruction. And for this reconstruction, Halliburton, which is also a USA company, the largest infrastructure development company in US. This company got the reconstruction done inside both the countries. Because of war, there is a need of medical facility inside both the countries. So, USA gave this work to one of his health group, which developed medical facilities in both countries. It is super simple. After wars, economic conditions of the countries is very poor. After which USA companies go in those countries, and set up their all units at the subsided cost, and then they exploit the resources, after which, their capitalistic dominance increases more. As a result of which, that country becomes more dependable on USA companies. And USA becomes more powerful. I know what you are thinking. That the government are involved in the wars, not the wars. USA government supports other countries in war. And if the private companies are making money out of it, then how would government take benefit out of it? Well, to understand this cycle first. Most government's revenue model depends on these two types of taxes. Number 1, the corporate tax. The tax which is taken from companies, but in this, the companies are creating employment, they get leverage to a great extent. So technically, they are paying taxes, but government doesn't make a lot of money here. And the second is, income tax. The tax which normal people pay. Now, the thing over here is, corporate makes millions of people who pay income tax to government, and not just directly in the form of income tax. But when these people buy goods and services, they pay some kind of tax to the government, and they don't pay just the normal income tax. When they buy any goods and services, they pay indirect tax to the government indirectly. So you see, the more the US companies grow, the more such people get created, who pay tax to government directly or indirectly. And that is the reason, government does all these things in order to increase their tax revenue. According to Business Insider, US Congress made a lot of money from wars. At least 18 federal lawmakers and their wives hold stocks in Raytheon Tech and Lockheed Martin, which are the world's largest weapon manufacturers. India, South Africa, Egypt, Australia, and China. These 5 countries are world's largest arm importers, which contributes 36% of world's total arm import. While on the other hand, US, Russia, France, Germany and China, these countries are world's largest arm exporters, which contributes 76% of world's total arm export. So the countries which have exceptional military intelligence, defense construction capabilities, and access to free capital, these countries will make a lot of money in any war of the world. Because you see, war is a destructive activity which brings up a lot of opportunities for reconstructive activities. So next time, when you see any country supporting or opposing any country, so just look forward to some business-related factors, like weapon supply, reconstructive capability, power of medical assistance, and scarcity of resources in the supporting nation. Because these things will give you a business perspective, not a geopolitical one, because as a smart citizen, you should realize politics can never exist if there is no business involved. That's why I always say, sometimes things are not as they seem. There are many things whose actual reality is so dangerous that it will blow your mind. Many such secrets are hidden inside such an industry which looks very tremendous from outside: fame, money, glamour, success. It looks everything, but inside, something happens in this industry that can ruin your life forever. Can't believe it? When you watch this video on the right side, you will come to know. Subscribe to Study in Italy. Thanks for watching.